Hey, this is Amy with Creative Catapult Coaching,
And Megan with Focus Like a Mother.
and we were not necessarily ready. This is the Control All Think podcast, conversations with neurodivergent minds doing neurodivergent things on any moment.
Lots of rabbit holes. Lots of squirrels. The squirrels are squirreling.
That's that is a thing. So you had a topic.
Yeah, so we were talking the other day trying to think about topics, and the one I think we came up with was the it's not everybody that's neurodivergent, but for some, the neurodivergent need of having all the information or finding all the information or knowing all the things before being able to move
Move on
on or
to
make a
something
decision
else.
or do
Close the
the
loop.
thing.
And I know that you're further down this than me. For me, a lot of times it's like I need to have enough context and information so that I can decide on a way forward, especially when I'm making like decisions for how I'm setting up Notion or I've always thought of it as strategic thinking, although sometimes it does get in the way of actually doing things.
Yeah, and I suppose some neurotypicals might say, oh, it's analysis paralysis, right? You
Hmm.
just get stuck in the analyze, which I could see some of it being that, but some of mine is also has nothing to do with making a decision or doing a thing. It is just an interest based, I need to know, and my brain, like, I don't want to leave the topic until I'm done figuring out whatever I'm trying to figure out. So it's almost like an internal problem solving mechanism. And I was realizing this morning that it might also be, is it like a form of like stimming or comforting, that it's like just finding out the things. Um,
It's comfort. I have thought mine is often to, preemptively deal with overwhelm so that when I have to make a decision about something, I've already thought through the process. And I don't know how much of this too is related to, scripting a conversation or playing through the potential outcomes of what might happen so that my brain has time to, think of what might I say, because a lot of it for me too is pulling all the different things I know and forming an opinion so I don't do deer in the headlights moments.
yes. Well, and as you say that, now I'm thinking back to uh like very long time ago, like over a decade ago. Um, I traded in my very first car out of college and bought a fancy pickup truck because I had like saved up and stuff. But to the people around me, not my immediate family, but like work colleagues and stuff, I actually had someone say, like, hey, I'm worried about you. This just seems like this sudden, like all of a sudden I just went out and decided, like, to other people, it seemed very impulsive. Oh no, I had looked on the
How many
manufacturer's website.
spreadsheets and how many reams
Yeah,
of
so there were like
files?
every time I've moved cities, there's been a spreadsheet um like comparing distances to work versus distances to the grocery store and like super weird things. But like for this truck, when I went to buy it, I knew more about the specs and the features in the truck and how all the things worked than the sales guy. So I was like pushing buttons and doing things and telling him I was selling him the car, right? Because I had already, just like you said, I had already, it's that being prepared thing and knowing the
Mhm.
outcome. I had already played out all of the different possibilities. And it could also be, in that case, my background in automotive manufacturing. But it's like I knew which options could or could not come with certain setups of the trucks because the wiring harnesses are only set up a certain way. So it's like, oh no, sales guy, like I would love to have that feature, but that is not a possibility in the configuration of this vehicle. And he's like, how do you know these things? Well, because I've spent hours reading the manufacturer's website and looking at all the different configurations that could possibly have gone into a build of this truck. And it really has nothing to do with, it's almost like for me, it's like a form of daydreaming. So
Hmm.
it's like, but then it becomes sort of like an internal vision board. And then when I actually go to buy the vehicle, it's like, oh no, I've already played out all these scenarios. This is what I want. But I don't know if it's a like a masking thing or an internal versus external thing. Um, but the people around me, like at work and stuff, had absolutely no idea that like, oh, this was not an impulse buy. This
Right.
has been planned out for a very long time.
Right.
Um,
Well, and on another, did you ever do Gallup Strengths Finder? For
yes.
me, one of my top strengths is actually information, like I don't remember what it is, but it's learning or collecting information. I collected information or people on LinkedIn for a long time, just, cataloging, not sure what I was going to do with them. And I mean, it sounds
Hmm.
really bad, but it was more like, and it served me well in a lot of spaces of like, oh, I remember that person, you know, collect information because I don't know what I'm going to want to make a decision to use to make a decision in the future.
Yeah, and some of
And
mine is, I
that,
think, also
it was a
curiosity,
you know, um,
the strategic thinking section of it.
that's not strategic thinking. It is related to strategic thinking, but um,
I think my copy of the book is in
it
the other
might be
room.
information anyway. But yeah, it's one of those. And I've had my own versions of the, things looking impulsive, but again, it's because I've been gathering pieces and all of a sudden it's like the puzzle pieces all click together and I know exactly how I'm gonna do it and I proceed and it happens like that. And people like, and it's like
Yeah, yeah,
I've
I've
been
had those too.
planning and maybe not to the level of detail with the spreadsheets, but it's like I've been collecting information in pieces in a different way for a long time and something can look very impulsive or like I've been obsessing over, depending on which side of the,
Yeah. I,
conversation you've been on, whether it's like I've been talking with somebody who doesn't share this particular wiring, or, if you just look at it as like, wait, how did you do that and why? But it's
yeah.
like I've been thinking about X, Y, and Z for a long time, and all of a sudden it's like I talk about collecting or building puzzle pieces. I want the puzzle pieces out on the floor or
Yeah.
the desk metaphorically, and then I'm going to start putting them together to see what I can do. Whereas you run all the configurations once I decide I'm going to do something. I start putting the pieces together and going, okay, well, now what?
Yeah. It's it's interesting because now as we're talking about it, it's like, oh yeah, every time we've bought a house. So we have a realtor friend, not here locally, but in a past place we've lived. She loved working with us because I did all of the work. So she could give me like access to the little portal and you can go in and like favorite things.
Hmm.
But like I knew everything about the property that she didn't have to try to, she only had to tell me the things that I couldn't find in public record. Um, so like if it's public record and has to do with a property we're buying or, whatever, like, oh no, we know exactly what we're getting into. I think it's also like a visual spatial thing.
Hmm.
Um, and then some of it is also special interest based. We were talking about that the other day of um plants. So uh how did I introduced myself to someone the other weekend who I found out was also neurodivergent. Because we were like we were packing bags for an event. Um, and so we were talking about info dumping. And then I realized that plants is probably one of those things that I just like to know about. And so when I introduced myself, I didn't talk about plants because other people are like, okay, weirdo. Um, but I said, sometimes I feel like I am a little like Hermione Granger. I am full of random tidbits and facts, and I come across as a know-it-all. Because if you have a question, I probably either know the answer or know where to find it and can point you in the right direction. Which as my career has progressed, I became the person that you went to if you needed something, not because I had it, but because I knew where you could find it.
Yeah. I identify with that on a lot of levels. And
So,
for me, it's
yeah,
always
Hermione
been
Granger,
interest.
hello. I
Well, and
also have to follow
patterns.
all the rules.
Yeah. Well, and interest and patterns and, knowing how an organization works or where the resources are because have this natural interest, or I have a natural interest in kind of how do the things fit together.
Yeah,
And so, always following different, you know,
yeah. So it's just
newsletters and pieces of an org or whatnot.
when we started, we were talking about the need to know information. And you kind of said, I'm a little more to one end of like the scale of needing more information
Yeah.
to be comfortable moving on things than you necessarily are. And then there's other people that I'm like, how, h- they're like wing it people. And I'm like,
I
I
sometimes
don't
I'm a
have your
wing it
internal world,
person.
so maybe you've thought this through, but maybe you haven't.
They probably haven't. And sometimes I'm a wing it person. In some domains, I'm super wing it. In other domains, I'm like, I need to have all the stuff,
A
all
lot of
the
times
information, and all the time to process.
I'll seem like wing it. Um, but I've actually already processed it, so it looks like I'm winging it. So a good example is when I used to run a lot, I could make up my route as I went, but that was because I already knew the entire lay of the land and the rough mileage to different like landmarks and different
Hmm.
roads and things. So it's like, well, yeah, I could wing it and say, oh, I'm gonna run like a mile this way and then come back because then it's, 2 miles. Like, okay, do math in my head. But it's more the like, uh, the planning has already been,
The
the
baseline is
pieces are
already
already
there.
in there.
Yeah.
And now I just have to say, oh, yeah, this piece applies here. And now we go. Um, so it's just an interesting, but it does lead to being stuck sometimes because it's like, the needing to know the information and the doing the thing. So it depends on it's like a comfort level thing. But I know way more information about things that I never actually have to do anything on. I just know the information, like
And I think
historical
when I
records of
was
things.
thinking, that you were further down, it's like your love of archiving and creating document depth of information that you can pull on is different than mine. I will set up a document and then I won't maintain it, whereas you will set up the document and often keep up with it until
Oh,
it's
it
not
doesn't, not
relevant.
all of them, only
Not
the
all
good
of
ones.
them, but yeah, but it's like I will set up the thing. But I also know that as soon as it's set up, I won't really maintain it. And so it's like, and this is where AI and tech is really helpful for me, is that if I can set it up in a way that it can be automated, or I can have an AI assist in filling in if it's not vital, or, might be interesting in the future to have. Like I've been keeping weather polls to correlate with some health stuff because air quality really impacts how I breathe, but that's not the kind of thing that I'm gonna track. But
I
when
think
I
we have
built it into a weather check in every morning and it's automatically there. Okay, well, now I might use the information and I might be able to correlate it across some of the other, how's my breathing feeling? How much energy do I have? But that's not the kind of thing that I like having the data, but I won't go and actually record it because that's not how I'm wired. But if I can build
Mm.
something to collect it, I'd like to have it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily, I try to record stuff, but sometimes the squirrels have me moving on before I've actually, so like again, plants, um like some of the landscaping and yard stuff. So I also take a lot of pictures of things because I won't necessarily write it down. I will plan it out ahead of time. But if I make a change to the plan and execute it differently, I won't necessarily go back and change the document of it.
Right.
So for a lot of oh, when did I take care of X, Y, or Z, seasonal yard task? I don't know, but I probably took a picture of it so I can go back in my pictures and find the date and be like, oh yeah, I did that on this date. So it's more of it's like a slinky effect. I catch up. So I also tend to bulk do things. So I will get stuck in an information black hole. And until I process all of that information, it's like I am not going to be able to go do whatever the other thing is.
And I know that sometimes that has been a frustration, but it's get you still move on and you are still here doing things. So,
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's in hindsight now, many, many decades of professional life in, now looking back, it's like, oh, hey, somebody said like the feedback you get over the years or the other people's opinions and perspectives that are shared with you. Um, like someone mentioned something about me setting goals but not reaching goals, but always changing the goals or something like that. And I remember being really upset. And I don't think what they said now in hindsight was an accurate portrayal. It was their perception on the outside of
right,
all of my processing.
right. And
Um,
the information, as you had more information, you actually adjusted and updated the intent.
yes, and I didn't have the words to explain it at the time. So the other person, like I just felt like I was failing at a lot of things.
Yeah,
But now I look at it and it's like, oh, well, all of these. So procrastination is always like a painful like accusation.
right,
Um, but now that I look at like reminding myself of, oh, hey, you did these things, it doesn't come out the way I don't see things the way other people see them.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One interesting,
Plants, like I've planted hundreds of plants this year. So I do accomplish some things, only if it's interesting.
yeah, once you care, well, and that so much feeds into autonomy and choice in human beings. And I think we could probably continue down this rabbit hole, but I think maybe in summary, unless you want to keep going,
No, we can add that rabbit hole to our list of topics,
yeah,
autonomy and choice.
but that perspective and time on all the information are things that we're kind of noting about ourselves in comparison to the outside world. Like you just said, over time, our perspective shifts as we get other ways of looking at it, and that's a really useful thing to continue to evolve our self-perception.
Yes. And so for others out there who are the Wikipedia rabbit hole, found this random topic, need to know the things about it for an unknown reason. It could just be that your brain just wants to know things, just to know them because they'll need those pieces later. And it's okay.
And
Yeah.
on that note, This is Amy with Creative Catapult Coaching,
And Megan with Focus Like a Mother.
and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.